Oh, this thing is cranky. Hi, this is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. And something's happened to my stand. It's hanging by a thread. I've tightened everything. I don't know. It just wants the camera to fall down. So anyway, we are here for an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. This is Tristan. He's a Corgi. And we've been away for a while because I am just extremely busy in the mornings these days. But I've been able to see plenty of clients, and I had another new client come in to remind me about something that I think a lot of people are interested in and care about and should certainly know about, if not for their own pets, for pets that they come across. So, and this is how to feed senior dogs. And I'm not talking about your 12-year-old dog who, may be getting a little picky, but is still in generally good health. I'm talking about the extremely very senior dogs, perhaps in their last year or 6 months of life. And this is a very tricky thing, and a lot of people don't really understand what to do during this process. And, it's my sister has a book called Canine Kitchen Capers, where people wrote in stories that were supposed to be funny about, the adventures they went through trying to feed their dogs, or, hours and hours making their dog a lightly cooked or raw diet for the week and then throwing pizza out for their family. So in that book is a story I wrote about one night trying to feed my dog Comet, who was almost 16 years old, had DM, and like so many senior dogs, what he had been eating was not appealing to him at that point. And it's a whole journey of feeding him anything I could think of in the house. And I was a vegetarian at the time, so it was hard for me to find things in the house. It wasn't like I had last night's roast beef and 3 days ago chicken breast in the fridge. I had bought him a variety of lunch meat and cheese. I cooked him eggs. I had turkey that I cooked for him. What else did we have, Bis? Because you ate most of it. But I cooked everything for him. I don't have peanut butter in the house. I have almond butter. I tried that. I tried every kind of dog treat, including like turkey jerky and my sister's wonderful Pure Bites and duck chicken. I think I had another one too. And he just didn't want to eat. And the first thing I had given him was freshly cooked turkey burger. And ultimately what he did eat was, after it had been sitting out for an hour while I tried everything else, cold, freshly cooked turkey burger. Now, a senior dog, like a senior person, undergoes many changes in the mechanisms of eating and food, finding food appetizing, etc. So, they don't smell as well as they used to. Their mouths have, their taste buds are not as sensitive as they used to be. Certain taste buds that were less prominent during their lives become more prominent, and they start to like different tastes than what they liked when they were younger. And so for Comet, most of my dogs have always eaten sort of room temperature food because it's quite an insult in terms of Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine to throw a bunch of cold food into your body unless you are in a hot situation. And, orange corgis are mostly in a hot situation. So feeding them cold food was okay. But in the winter here, it's really cold. So I like to feed them room temperature food. And for Comet to have chosen in November, October to eat cold turkey is not a surprise to me. And the other thing, I cook it in coconut oil, and the coconut oil, when it's liquid, tastes really different than when it's solid. And of course, sitting on the counter for an hour, it turned more to a solid. So this dog I had came in, a herding breed, 15 point whatever, 999 years old, skinny. I cannot emphasize, this dog was one of the skinniest dogs I've seen in my life, and I've been in a lot of shelters and a lot of rescue situations. And the people, he was their only dog, practically in their lives. They were like my age. And he wasn't eating his morning meal, and he wasn't too hungry at his dinner meal. They were feeding him the same food they fed him his whole life, which had just recently shifted, like in the last year, to better food. But he had been on a commercial kibble recommended by the vet or the breeder 15 years ago when they lived in California, a totally different environment than here. And not that kibble's okay in a hot, dry environment, it's even worse. So this dog had a lot of systemic problems going on, tremendous arthritis, joint problems, three-legged lame, not much cognitive decline though. And it just didn't occur to these people to try to feed the dog more times throughout the day and to try to feed him different stuff. And like so many people in the world, they thought, human food, oh my gosh, that's the worst thing. We're not feeding him chicken from the table. That would kill him. No, that is not going to kill him. That is going to help him survive. This type of dog could easily have lived 3 more years. I'm not sure he's with us now, and I saw him maybe a month ago. So anyway, one of the things that my mother struggles with, because my sister's gone a lot, is that she's caring for a lot of senior animals, her own, Scout, Charlie, a couple other ones that are really old. And periodically, one of them doesn't want to eat. Now, part of that is the stomach lining and its function also changes as dogs age. They might not have as much acid to digest the food. They may start to have breakdowns in the valves between the stomach and the esophagus, which creates a problem with their swallowing. One of my doggy clients has a tumor in his mouth, so he has trouble eating. Sometimes they, like Tristan, he loves to run around after he eats dinner, and if he had a problem with his stomach, that would create an indigestion, acid problem, and that would make the dog not want to eat the next day because he would associate the horrible feeling with what he ate. So what my mom has to do, thank God she's home and she's got a lot of them to deal with, is try different foods throughout the day. She's got fresh eggs from the chicken, she's got cottage cheese, she's got yogurt, she's got dehydrated raw, frozen raw, fresh raw, cooked kind of stews from some of the raw companies. I mean, she's got probably 20 different things that she can feed these dogs. And some of them are eating what they've eaten in their, most of their last couple of years of their lives. But for whatever reason, some of them now just want to eat something that the other ones have been eating. And luckily, she's got like 3 of them that have this problem. Well, actually 4, because there's a younger one who also has a eating problem right now. And she just rotates the bowls around and see who eats what, remembers that. And, there's combinations of things in these bowls, and a lot of them are on special medication until she gets them to eat. And it's so important that they eat. Now, it's one thing if your dog misses one meal and he's got a little tummy upset. A lot of times at the beach, dogs drink a lot of salt water, they get a lot of sand, and they're just a little off and they miss one meal. If that happens, I try to give a dog something like oatmeal in his food the next morning to try to push things out and get his gut back to a normal balance, give him some probiotics, maybe some digestive enzymes. But if your dog is missing meal after meal and having a substantial or even minor weight loss, remember, a half a pound on a dog like mine that weighs 20 pounds, that's a lot of weight for him to lose. So it's really important that they eat. If a dog like the one I saw, who was so skinny, if he has like a big problem like Lyme disease, or if he develops something like Cushing's or any kind of a tumor in his body, or even in his case, he's 3-legged lame, the orthopedic stress on his structure is tremendous. And it takes a lot of energy to walk in a not quadruped way. So a dog like that needs to have energy. He needs to have weight on his body. He needs to have resources. And if there is a day when the dog doesn't feel well, he needs to have enough weight on his body that missing a meal or 2 is not going to be the difference between life and death. So feeding these extreme senior dogs, you need to make sure they eat. You need to remember to feed them 6 times a day, 12 times a day. If they are not eating, maybe like one of my mom's dogs, he doesn't really want to eat till 1 in the afternoon, but she tries to feed him every hour, starting at 8 in the morning when my sister tries to feed him if she's home. And, usually by the afternoon, he gets his 2 or 3 meals in, and he's still really slim, but, at least he's eating, he's getting the nutrition. So it's really important with these senior dogs that you feed them appropriately. Some of the things that you might believe, like, oh, this kibble he's been on since he was a puppy from the breeder is still good for him. It's not. It never was, really, but especially when they're old. They need different kinds of food. And, one of the problems I've seen frequently with senior dogs not eating is that their teeth are in a disastrous situation. And the person even will say, oh, he's got terrible breath. I can't sit near him. I don't know what's going on. He must just be old. No, he's got a tooth that's so infected that his breath is awful. And that infection is running through his whole body. It's creating tremendous problems for that dog. So, the dental drops are critical for senior dogs. And if your dog is missing meals, the first thing you should check is his teeth to make sure he doesn't have a problem. A lot of dogs chew on sticks and things, and they get little slivers up between their gum and the tooth. That can create an infection. And over a month, when you forget that he even ate a stick, you've got a real problem going on there. So you may have to change the texture of his food and not necessarily the whole amount of food that he's eating. Hi, Jim and James and Danny and everybody. So think about feeding them more often. What is the texture of their food? I mean, some dogs, like my horse, when he was old, he had so many teeth problems that he really couldn't chew hardly anything, but he liked to chew. And we had to really make him a giant bowl of, they have hay cubes that are like processed chopped up hay bits, like shredded wheat but minced. And he had to have that soak overnight to turn into this mush so that he could eat. And as soon as we started doing that, I mean, the pounds just came back on him and he was restored to much better health, which lasted him the last couple years of his life. But prior to that, he was not only undergoing a little bit of toxicity from eating a toxic plant that my sister had at one of her farms that she wasn't aware of, and then also having extreme weight loss as a result of that, and also his tooth problems and not having people address his needs because of his tooth problems. So when I got him back, the barn manager and I put together a plan to feed him in a way that he could eat. And the same thing happens with dogs. If there's a problem in their mouth, they can't eat. And like I said, you may have to do other things to make the food more appetizing. One of the things that works really well, especially with northern breeds, is tuna juice. If you put tuna juice on anything, it smells so delicious, dogs usually will eat it. Sardines and sardine juice minced up can also make a meal more appetizing, or in fact be a meal. Comet had many sardines in his senior years. He was always a seafood lover. And, eggs, don't forget about eggs. And like I said before, the dairy products, yogurt, cottage cheese. A lot of dogs need pills when they're old. Pill pockets are not always appealing to them. You may have to do something like smash the pill and put it in something like liver paste for them to get it. If your dog's on a cardiac med or any kind of thing that they really need on a daily basis, you can't afford to go 2 weeks with them not eating and not getting their medications. Seizure meds, sometimes, same thing. So, arthritis meds. Make sure you look at the entire spectrum of things that your dogs might eat. Liver paste is a good thing. And you can always go to the butcher and get some kind of ground up organ meat. And certainly Hair Today, Gone Tomorrow has lots of good products that you can get from them. All Provide has lots of good things that you can try for your dog when they're old. Yeah, sardines. Their kids love them. I've never seen a dog not like sardines. I personally cannot bear them. Oh, they're like triple plastic bagged in their tin in the fridge on the week that Tristan's eating them. And I'm just like, I can hardly smell him without having sardine crisis. But you know what? It's so good for them. So anyway, and I also posted on my page something about 5 things you can do for longevity in your dog from Dogs Naturally magazine. And one of the things was not feeding fish oil because of all of the problems that it creates in your dog from the way the fish are caught, etc. Some of the products my sister has on her website are an exception to that, as is the juice in the sardines. So that's why the sardines are such a good idea. Your dog is getting all those omega-3s and combating free radicals in their body without having to eat just like fish oil. We're trying to get him to eat a fish oil pill. So feed your seniors. Don't let them miss meals. Spread their meals out. Feed them anything they'll eat. Cook them food. Give them what you're eating. Do whatever you can to keep them eating. And after a couple days, and nearly all of them come back. The one that my mom has the most trouble with is a dog named Scout, a tremendously ancient Cocker Spaniel. We don't even know how old he is, but he went probably 3 or 4 days without eating at some point, maybe 2 months ago, which is something that Comet tried to do in the very senior of his years. And my mom was just persistent. And one day she let him clean up her dog's bowl because her dog also doesn't always eat. And he just started to eat again. And she was on him like white on rice. She was making sure that he got food every couple of hours to see what he would eat. And eventually he was eating again. And now he's been one of the better eaters in the group. But she does have to pass the bowls around and try different food to get everybody to eat, including her dog. So those are a few things to remember when you're feeding very senior dogs to keep them healthy and eating. So thanks for joining us today for this episode of Conversations with a Corgi with the seasick camera at the start of this episode. I don't know if I can get Brian to edit that out. I don't think so. And let's see, tomorrow is a Corgi picnic here in Western Mass. I don't think I have an internet connection there. I kind of remember that. We're in a field in the middle of nowhere on the top of a hill. I may try to do a live in the morning tomorrow and Sunday. And then certainly I have plenty of time next week. A lot of things that I normally do are not happening next week. Oh, nice to see you guys too, Danny. So everybody have a good day. Enjoy these warm days with your dogs because we don't have a whole infinite number of them left. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.